Great. For this next one, I'm going to try to pad out the first 30 seconds because I can't curse, and I can't curse and not talk about this. From what I can gather, I still don't understand it. I don't agree with it. I'm seeing people have opinions about something that does something similarly, but not. Uh, it doesn't quite do it on the level that this other topic that we're talking about. We're talking about Pokemon. Um, so let's get into it. This is about the wild area in Pokemon. Not talking about how it can be done in the next game. What improvements, what did I like about? You're going to be hearing everything that I don't like about the wild area, and really specifically, the wild area makes no sense for a game. Uh, and anybody who defends it is a fucking shill. It's stupid. I'm gonna talk about this. It's gonna be my hot take. I don't understand how you can defend it. So in order to talk about that, we have to talk about something else real quick. So we're going to talk about ray tracing. Now, I know ray tracing doesn't seem to have anything to do with Pokemon, but just give me a minute, especially for all you people who are like Nintendo fans or Pokemon fans or you love ray tracing, whatever. Stick to the end or skip to it, whatever, and just hear the comparisons of what I have to tell you or what I have to say, instead of just rush into the comments after like watching a minute and then downvoting and just listen. Most I can ask for. So there's this thing called ray tracing. It's supposed to be the hot new technology. It's supposed to be the next best thing, right? Now, tons of people don't like ray tracing, or they like ray tracing, but they do not like the implementation it's had so far. They don't like it. I'm one of the people that thinks it's obviously going to be the future, but it's nowhere near ready. It's no, for a mass amount of games, it's nowhere near ready. For whatever they've already developed it on, as long as it has DLSS or some upscaling solution, you can get away with it. But if you don't have an upscaling solution, ray tracing is dumb. Why? Well, here's the thing that games have been working towards forever, is to have good resolutions and good frame rates. That's it. If your game can run at 4K near 120 frames, what more is there to ask for, really? And that's where we're getting into the ray tracing becomes something different because it adds something further than just those two. It shouldn't necessarily take away from the other two. So why does ray tracing suck right now? It's because at the same resolution, without an upscaling option, it's just a frame hit. And it doesn't improve resolution, it enhances whatever resolution you're on. Some people can argue like it doesn't. I've seen non-Apple fan and Paul's thing about blood for Control, and I've gone back and been like, yeah, it does look weird. It doesn't look the way that it should, especially not for the performance hit. So it doesn't enhance the resolution. It keeps it the same. And in most cases, it actually forces you to go down a resolution to be hitting anywhere near an acceptable frame rate for what you normally would be playing. So if you're playing Cyberpunk and you could play it maybe at 4K, maybe 60 with like tweaking around some settings and stuff, if you can do it at 1440p, you have to go down an entire setting to be able to get that game to run on ray tracing without an upscaling solution. And even with an upscaling solution, it's still not great. So why is all this important? Well, there's this debate on whether or not this is actually going to be good for games, whether it's important right now, whether it's if it's ready. And here's this thing that is this next level experience that does add this. I mean, anything to do with SSDs and that type of stuff with the consoles is more impressive at this point than ray tracing, it seems, because whatever. Here you have this actual groundbreaking, game-changing technology that just lowers frames and doesn't do anything to the resolution, except it just adds to the visual quality. I don't even want to say resolution because it doesn't add anything pure rasterization. So this is debate of whether or not this is good. But then we go over to Pokemon, and we have this game, just Sword and Shield without the wild area. We have this game that doesn't already look great. It's already at 30 frames on a Nintendo Switch. And then you're going to implement this area that cuts down the resolution, cuts down the frame rate, and adds Nothing. It adds nothing that they couldn't, everything that's in the wild area, they could have added somewhere else. And it adds nothing. It's fucking dumb. And they're fucking stupid for putting it in and thinking that's acceptable. And we're fucking dumb for keep buying into it. But I'm not going to keep being fucking dumb. I'm going to keep calling it out. I don't understand why this is acceptable at all. If there was anything else, like imagine ray tracing didn't actually do what it did for the graphics. Imagine you got ray tracing and it turned your 1440p game down to 1080p and cut the frame rate. What would you be doing? Would you be having that on? No. You wouldn't have that. You wouldn't give that a second thought. You'd be looking at that being like, I have to take this cut for what? To play another section of the game? Like when somebody gets a game and it doesn't run on their hardware, they either get newer hardware or they wait until they have other hardware to play it, other than screwing around with settings and stuff. But you don't have that luxury with Pokemon Sword and Shield. You know, that luxury with really any Nintendo game. But you don't have that luxury. You know, you want to be in the wild area, go ahead. Go ahead and turn on Wi-Fi. And get like 10 frames. 12 frames a second. It looks really good to see a static moving Rhydon move even more staticky because he's choppy frames all over the fucking place. Why is this acceptable? Why do people like keep defending it? And people keep going on and on. I keep seeing like hopes for the wild area. You know what my hope is for the wild area? That it doesn't sacrifice resolution and frame rate for nothing. For nothing. And I keep saying for nothing because there's only one thing the wild area gives that it cannot give anywhere else. Dens, they could have put dens somewhere else. They could have. Breeding's never needed to be in the wild area. It wasn't before. Pokemon walking around is everything else in the wild area. Trainers, trees, Pokemon walking around, items, all that stuff's everywhere else. There's one thing, that the wild area gives you, and it's camera control. And if you told me in any of my other games, hey, if you want to have a free moving camera instead of the regular static or dynamic camera that they have, if you wanted to have a free moving camera, you had to sacrifice a resolution and frame rates. I'd be like, no, kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. Go fuck yourself. That's exactly what you deserve to be telling me that. It's not ready. So if ray tracing is not ready at that and it actually gives you a benefit, then this thing that just gives you camera control that not only cuts the frame rate, but cuts the resolution, makes everything else look shittier because it has to. Because it has to look bad because it's like an open world RPG at that point. It's stupid. And I think to keep giving into this and to not accept reality is stupid on our part. So I think as Pokemon fans, everybody should be, I think personally everybody should be boycotting Nintendo until they actually do something right. But like, don't accept that this is good or right. Like, fight against it. What do you have to gain by giving praises to a company for something that they're not doing well? Do you like the company? Do you like the product? I want the wild area to eventually be in every single Pokemon. I want every Pokemon game to have full camera control and to not be a shittier resolution or frame rate because of it. End of story. I don't care how much money Nintendo takes off of that. I hope Nintendo loses and Pokemon Company loses mountains of money until then. But I hope they get there because that's what the fans want. That's what I want to actually play in a game. And that's the sentiment we should be having. We shouldn't have this, like, you can't talk bad about them because it offends me or they might not put it in at that point. Fuck them. Fuck them. Don't buy their products and tell them what you want. Fight for your stuff. If you don't fight for it, nobody's going to. And if we don't fight for what's right and what's wrong, they're never going to listen. And how do you get your opinion out to them? With your wallet. So don't go buy that next game. Don't go transfer that Pokemon over instead of waiting a week for the energy to recharge. Don't go buying that DLC because you missed Garchomp. Fuck them. Till they do something right. And keep pressuring them to do something right. So till then, have fun, guys.